This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, K-Mac, Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board. Kristen, I know you probably have one of those big, guaranteed seven-figure defined benefit pension plans over there at the Chicago Tribune. So the last couple of days, seeing the market pull back 5%, more than 1,000 points, that had to make you a little jittery.
I'm just counting on taxpayers to bail me out of my defined benefit plan, so we're good.
All right.
No, it was. I mean, some of
that
the
is the order of the day. Yeah.
Some of the headlines were describing this as, the abyss, that this was extremely dangerous. Now, of course, it's already bounced back a little bit today, right? Tech stocks are starting to rise, so we're pulling back from the edge.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
I was looking the next couple of days, and I have my exit strategy plan like everybody else, and
Might make you stay a little bit longer.
if this continues, I might have to work another 6 months, and that's not part of the plan.
You don't really work, though. Let's be
Well,
honest.
right. Hardest working guy works 20 hours a week. For more on this topic and what the future holds, we look into the crystal ball of Scott the Cow Guy, Scott Shellady, Fox Business contributor, joining us now. Scott, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So you seem very calm, which is good.
Yeah, I'm just counting on those 4 taxpayers that are left to help bail Kristen out when she needs it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out before her pension comes due. Scott, what are we to understand from the last 2 days and what that means for the last 2 months of the year?
Well, I would say the word is velocity. We have to really keep an eye on the velocity of any rate increases, and that's what scared the market. And obviously, then the velocity of the downturn in asset prices. We've had a great run. The last 2 or 3 days have been kind of difficult for us here because it's really just been a story of excuses, and nobody really cares what the excuse is. But I will say this: there's no new news out there that made the market do what it did. It was just a little bit of a lemming/herd mentality that began to start to take some their chips off the table because, since Trump was elected, the high, we had from the low to the highs, it was around a 45% return on the stock market. Now it's around just over 40. So if you're about to retire, and I would have told you less than 2 years ago, you'd see that market rally 40%, 42%. You'd be stupid not to take some of that money off the table, before you kind of left. And those are the people I think that really were in the crosshairs here, because the ones that are actually either retired or about to retire were the ones that really had to make a move. But ultimately, the numbers are 4.2% growth, 3.7% unemployment. We've got some good fundamental underlying economic news. So arguably you could say that maybe people got a little nervous that things were too good, or, when's this all going to end? But at the end of the day, the U.S. economy is the bellwether right now for the rest of the world, and everybody else wants to be us.
So you don't think it was Kanye? He was just he made everyone very jittery. Let's throw that in his basket too.
Yeah, well, no, I don't. He that is such a minefield to go down that shaft to talk about Kanye West and Donald Trump. I'll probably just stay away from it. But
yeah.
It's interesting to say the least.
So you don't think that the announcement that the president is going to meet with the Chinese president at the G20 summit that calmed some fears? And
well, if you want to do a play-by-play, yesterday at around 2:30 Eastern time, where there was a wall of selling equity-wise. But it was, in some part, it was stemmed by those folks that had seen that news and were thinking that, hey, this could come to an end. And that's the very reason why this is almost going to be like a binary event, and it's very difficult to trade a binary event because, I believe that this won't take as long as people think it's going to. I don't think the president's got the patience. He's an action man. He's not a man of attrition. And so you want to make sure you're in the market and invested when it does, because that's really the main thing that's been holding the market back, if at all. And I think that when it finally does come out, look what we got happen. Look what happened when we got the Mexico news and the Canadian news. It's going to be good for the market. And I just got off the phone with a big hedge fund in New York, and there's so many people in New York that have missed this 40% rally since Trump was elected because they didn't like him. They voted with their hearts and they didn't vote with their heads and missed the rally. So there's so much dry powder on the sidelines still that needs to get in the market, and as we get closer to the end of the year, that just is going to ratchet up the pressure on those guys to perform. So it'll be interesting to see if we get some good news on top of the fact that a lot of guys have missed the move. Whew.
What about Trump's jawboning the Fed? And they're wacko, they're loco over there at the Fed, Scott. And does it potentially signaling that he doesn't want to see another rate increase, even though they're scheduled?
I just think it's hubris. I think it's just a stake for the likes of Mr. Sean from Elmore Park. Give everybody something to talk about. But it doesn't mean anything. So.
Okay, it means something only to unhinged conspiracy theorists, is what you're saying. Okay, exactly, I got it. Perfect.
Exactly right.
What about the prospect of earnings reports in the fourth quarter being, and there's a lot high expectations for earnings reports. If they don't meet expectations, then can we see a second dip?
Well, I think things are looking pretty good. So that wasn't really the concern on the street. I think the street was worried about forward guidance. That was what everybody was talking about over the last 3 or 4 days when we lost this 5 or 6% in a couple of days. It was, we think earnings will be good, but we're worried about what they're going to have to say about things going forward. So, they could probably, take a little bit off the top here, but at the end of the day, it's still hard to argue with the real numbers, what's been really happening to the economy. And we can take a little off the top because things are good, but at the end of the day, again, we're the bellwether. People want to be us. We're raising rates, our economy is growing, and we still don't have that real huge threat of inflation.
I wanted you to get back to the point. You were saying you were in New York, and there were a bunch of people who kind of stayed on the sidelines and missed this growth spurt. And is this the moment now when you anticipate that they will get back in?
Well, it's an opportunity. Things are on sale, right? I mean, just because we're up today doesn't mean we can't be down on Monday. It doesn't mean we can't finish lower today. But if you are under the gun and you have to perform, and you're lucky that the S&P is going to be only up 3% on the year, probably by the end of today, you don't have as much catch-up to play. But if you've missed a huge opportunity, they're going to have to put some money to work. And as we get closer to the end of the year, when they have to post and let their customers know what they've done, that pressure ratchets up. So, yeah, I know a lot of the cases where, and this happens to a lot of people in more than just money, they've missed the boat because they voted with their hearts and they didn't vote with their heads, and just take the person out of it and look at the product, and it's pretty compelling.
Mm-hmm. How do you I may or may not have a little bit of my retirement planning in Facebook, that I think they did creep up a little bit. They're still dealing with all of this misinformation activity. Any updates on where that stock is headed?
Creep is a good description for Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan. Facebook and MySpace, I think, are a lot alike. But I would say this: you can break those tech stocks into two different groups, right? They're not just one group now. So the social media part of technology, I think, will struggle going forward because of the fact that they didn't regulate themselves well enough. These governments, and Europe's a great example of it because they're doing it really. They're much more aggressive here in London than they are in the States. They almost think that they're the arbiter. They're the ones that are going to have to start really keeping tabs on these people. But I think that the social media part of that tech sector is going to struggle because they're going to come under much more scrutiny and or new regulation, just like the revolution, the workers' revolutions in the 1930s and 40s. It's going to be government led.
So in terms of kind of recalibrating one's portfolio, is there anything that you would recommend in the wake of the last 2 days people should be at least thinking about taking under advisement?
Yeah, I would relax. The modern portfolio theory of money management, one of people was surprised in the 1950s. And basically that was a theory that said you just can't pick them. You have to be fully invested and kind of balance your portfolio out to your risk parameters as you get older, right? The older you get, the more bonds you own, the less stock you own. And I guess everybody knows the regular ratio of, whatever your age is what you should have in bonds. So if you're 30, you should have 30% of your money in bonds and 70% in equity. And obviously, if you're 50, it's 50-50. But that's a pretty easy rule of thumb, and I think that still holds true because you know what? You could have bought the high in the stock market every year since 1929, and you'd be a billionaire.
And so the moral of the story, Kristen, don't be a hero. Just I
like the stay calm.
Slow and steady, right?
Stay calm. Yeah,
slow and steady.
Yeah, there's more reason. There's more reason to be concerned about a stock market that goes up for no good reason than one that goes down for a few good reasons.
Nice.
All right,
I'm going to
very
remember
good.
that.
Boy,
I'm going to tattoo that on my arm.
Scott the Cow Guy. He's quick with the aphorisms. That guy. It's like he's like the Life's Little Instruction Book of financial advisors.
There you go.
Scott the Cow Guy, Scott Shellady, Fox Business Contributor. Thanks
All
for
right.
calming our nerves.
See
Appreciate it. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.